When working in an Excel spreadsheet, at some point you will probably need to zoom in or zoom out. And there's actually quite a few methods of doing this in Excel. One of the more common methods is just to adjust this slider down here at the bottom right. Move it to the right to zoom in and to the left to zoom out. I'm using a peripheral mouse, so it's one of these mouses here. If you're using one of these, you do have to make sure that your spreadsheet is selected. So just click anywhere in the spreadsheet. If you're using one of these mouses, you can just hold down Control and scroll forward with the mouse roller to zoom in and then backwards to zoom out. I'm working on a laptop, so another method you can use if you're using a laptop is on the trackpad, also known as a mouse pad, and this is very similar to the system on a mobile device like a phone or a tablet. If you pinch out and pinch back in on the trackpad, you'll be able to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm pinching out on the trackpad and I'm pinching in. And you can see I'm zooming in and out. And then finally, you have the keyboard shortcuts. In the older versions of Excel, as far as I can remember, it was Control- and Control+. So you can give those a go. But with the later versions of Excel, I believe it was changed to Control-Alt- and Control-Alt+. So just experiment with those keyboard shortcuts and see which ones work for you. There's three basic components that make up an Excel spreadsheet. They are the columns, the rows, and the references. The columns are the lines that run up and down the page and are identified by lettering. And then you have the rows that run across the page and are identified by numbers. So why does this system of letters and numbers exist? Well, if I select the F column here, just by clicking on the top of it, then I'll hold down Control and select one of the rows, just by clicking on any of them. So I'll go for the 9th row. Where they meet in the middle here, a reference is being created. So I know that the reference for this cell here, where this darker shade of grey is F9, because I have F at the top of my column and 9 on the left in my row. As you're clicking around in your spreadsheet, you'll see that you do actually have this slightly darker shade of grey highlight the column and the row for you. So this is a good indicator as to what a cell reference is. And also you can refer to what is called the name box, which is up here at the top left. And you may have noticed this already, but as I'm clicking around in the spreadsheet, you can see the reference is actually being given to us in the name box. When it comes to referencing in an Excel spreadsheet, this plays a key role in formulas and functions and many other things. If you've spent more than, let's just say, a few minutes in an Excel spreadsheet, more than likely you would have tried to adjust the width of the columns and the height of the rows. So that can be done just by coming up in between any of the columns or in between any of the rows and click holding and dragging. So drag to the right to widen the width, and then click, hold, and drag to the left to narrow it down. With the rows, it's up to narrow, and then down to increase the row height. I did 4 moves there, so what I would like to do is go back 4 steps. And to do that, I'm just going to click on the undo icon here 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Depending on your version of Excel, the undo and redo icons might be over here on the far left. You may have noticed when I opened up the column earlier, we were presented with a little white box. So I'll open the column here now just to show you this little white box once again. Basically, this gives you a measurement. So I can click, hold, and drag and increase the width of this column to exactly 120 pixels, let go of the mouse, and I can move on to the next one here. And I can literally spend the rest of the month opening up my columns and the rows as well. The exact same system exists with the rows. I did 2 steps there, so I'm going to go back 2 steps, except this time I'm just going to use the keyboard shortcut Control-Z once, Control-Z twice. You're probably familiar with that very common keyboard shortcut that is relevant to most applications on a computer. So there's an easier method when it comes to adjusting the width of your columns and the height of your rows, especially when you have multiple columns and rows you want to adjust. So let's just deal with the columns for now. I'm going to select this first column here. Now I'm going to hold down Control and select any other columns that I want. So just click along these columns here. While holding down Control, you can also deselect any columns that you have selected. But I'm going to just select all of these here. Now I'm going to come up in between any of them, or you can come right to the end. Click, hold and drag out to the measurement you want. Let go of the mouse. And they've all been adjusted to the same size. I'll go back 1 step there, Control-Z. Let's do the same with the rows here. I'm going to select this first row here, Control, and I'll select these others as well. And now I'm going to come to the bottom and click, hold and drag down and set this to 50 pixels. Let go of the mouse and you can see they've all been adjusted. I'll go back 1 step there. Now let's say you want to adjust a range of cells. So this would be the height of a range of cells and the width as well. Well, first of all, you would select your cells like this. So just click, hold and drag and choose the cells you want. And this time I'm going to come to the Home tab here and the Format drop down here. And here we have 2 items that we want to use. We have row height and we have column width. So I'll just click on row height for now. This little box shows up and by default it's set to 14.5, but I'm going to set it to 20 and I'll click OK. So now you can see how our cells have grown in height a little bit there. Now I'm going to adjust the width, so I'm going to come back to the Format drop-down and I'm going to click on Column Width. And I'm going to set this to, well, let's just go for 12. And I'll click OK. And they've all been adjusted to the exact size that I want. I did 2 moves there, so I'm going to go back 2 steps. So I've been using that keyboard shortcut a number of times in this tutorial, but let's say you do multiple things in your spreadsheet and you'd like to go back to where you were before. Well, of course, you could use Control-Z and press that as many times as you need to, or you can click on Undo up here. But there is a more efficient way of doing this. But first of all, let's do a few things in our spreadsheet. I'm going to select the cell here and just type in 1, 2, 3. I'll select the cell here and put in ABC. Then I'm going to widen this column here to whatever width, and I'll increase the height of this row here. Then I'm going to hold down Control and scroll forward with my mouse roller just to zoom in, and I'm going to leave it like that. To go back to where I was before, so the point before I typed in 1, 2, 3, like I said, I could just use the keyboard shortcut Control-Z as many times as I need to. But what you could do to do this even faster is if you come to the undo icon here, next door is this little drop down here. If you click on this, you're presented with all of the actions that you've carried out within your Excel spreadsheet. As you can see, we have typing 1, 2, 3, which is obviously this cell here, ABC, the adjustment of the width of the column, the row height, and then we have all of these zooms that have been recorded as well. So Excel actually records when you zoom in and when you zoom out. To go back to the point before I typed in this 1, 2, 3 here, I can just click on typing 1, 2, 3. And that will all get undone. But let's say I have a change of heart and I want to bring all of that back. Well, if you come to the redo icon this time and the drop down menu here, you can see all of the items are now over here. So I can click on the last item here, which is zoom. And all of that work I just did a moment ago has been reinstated.